Alright, we're gonna take the Ramblas out to grab a beer. And there's a fun little trail we can hit on the way. So anyway, I'm gonna use this as a first ride thoughts or first impressions discussion here for the Ramblas. I hate riding with cars. Alright. But yeah, first impressions, initial thoughts, because I took this rig out for a ride today at Raging River and took it down some what I would call gnarly trails. I rode CCDH and Reverence. First time down Reverence, but both include a lot of chunky sections and benches and things. So a lot of room to really test what it's like to ride this bike and is it capable as a mountain bike? And more so to question how capable is it. I was able to establish pretty quickly that it's definitely a capable mountain bike. It's just where's the limit, right? And what I would say is it from first impressions, what it fits pretty much stock, and what it does pretty much stock is what it's supposed to do with their product plan and what Aventon was trying to do with this bike. To get into that, what does that mean? This is a hardtail electric mountain bike. It's $2,800, so it's under $3,000, and it's meant to be both a quality commuter and a capable trail bike. Not supposed to be necessarily an enduro mountain bike, and the trails I was taking it down today were full-on enduro trails. So I was definitely pushing this beyond its intended use, and to finally get to my impressions, I think it did really, really well. The caveats here is I don't have everything exactly stock. I have changed the tires. I took off the Maxxis Recons. I wanted enduro tires because I didn't want to get a flat, and I'm still running the tubes. I put riser bars because that's a more comfortable riding position for me. Put my grips on, and I've put my pedals on as well. Aside from that, everything is stock. I did add a little donut stem cap. Everything is stock. It's not heavily upgraded, and that's where we are. So my first impression would be that it is very capable trail riding. You're going to push it beyond its limit, right, when you take it enduro riding. Steeper, gnarlier trails, you're going to realize that, you have to do more work, or you're going to get more worked and be in a spot where you're potentially, let's say, underbiked. I definitely pushed this fork beyond where it's comfortable, where I'm comfortable with it. I bottomed out the fork a couple times, and I would, for the trails I was riding, like to have more suspension travel and probably a slacker geometry. Let's put it in turbo. Just because steeper trails with some big benches that you're really having to row the bike back and forth. And you need a long reach in order to reach. You need a long wheelbase to reach the bottom of some of those steep benches. I feel like the types of trails I was putting it on today were really pushing the limit, mainly pushing the limit of the, like I said, the fork, and in some ways the reach on the bike with some of the steepness of what I was riding. But I was really impressed just with the overall build quality of the bike, and the components spec'd out are really quite nice for the price point. The motor, I'm pretty impressed with the quality of the motor. The power that it generates, and just how well it adjusts to the torque sensing adjusts to the input you give it to control its output. It gets so loose. But, like I said, super impressed with, there is a new branch hanging out there. Super impressed with everything, honestly. All right, let's keep going on the beer run. Like I said, for this price point, it's pretty unbeatable. And some of that is that Aventon worked to build this motor themselves. So they had a lot more control in the production process. You have more margin to work with from a business standpoint, and you can keep prices down. So I think that was key there. The main criticisms I have, and I'm going to stay away from anything like, well, the fork doesn't have enough travel or doesn't have reach. It's not what the bike's designed for. Main criticisms I have is there's a little bit of rattling from the motor, which is fairly typical with e-bikes, but I feel like it's a little more than normal when the crank arms go back and forth. So as you engage the crank arms, or if you wiggle them back and forth, that makes a rattling sound that I feel is more than typical. I'm not sure, I could be wrong. And I don't think it's anything that's going to hurt the bike or that affects riding. just the sound. However, that's still something. So take that with a grain of salt because it doesn't really affect the riding, in my opinion. It's not something you should worry about, but it makes a noise. SRAM DB8 brakes are doing a good job for stopping a heavy bike. 200 mil rotor up front, 180 in the back. They're big enough. Battery life, 708 watt hour battery seems adequate to me. Interface here and on the app is very nice, workable, straightforward. You can fine-tune eco, trail, and turbo mode. And then the only thing I noticed that I would kind of criticize specifically, this particular dropper lever is a little hard to engage. It's not really a big deal when riding, but if you're trying to get on and off the bike and you're standing on the side, you really have to push down on it in order to get that actuator, going and actually engage the dropper so that it will go up or down. Everything else, like the tire spec, Maxxis Recons, they make sense to me for XC riding, commuting. The fork makes sense as well, which I'm probably going to change out the fork because I would like some more travel. The wheels, they're pretty heavy and they're not set up tubeless. I want to be set up tubeless, but again, I understand why it wouldn't be for what this bike is and for keeping the cost down. So that's more wish list than criticisms. Oh, I cannot see. But yeah, really cool overall. I would say cool bike, interesting product positioning in terms of there aren't many other hardtail EMTBs, so it's probably a good section of the marketplace for them to get into and own, especially because they do produce commuter bikes. And the build quality, everything, the motor, the frame, and the assembly, all very high quality. I think it's one of the best packaged bicycles I've ever received or unboxed in terms of the attention to detail and how things were set up, how things were wrapped, and what boxes were placed around what parts of the bike. It was just very well designed. They even had some bike lube and a multi-tool included there for you. But I'm gonna keep riding, get to the beer, and I'll catch you guys on the ride back for some parting thoughts. Going right now, so check out this little park. Oh, there's a little loop trail. Cool. All right, we're headed back. Super nice evening. Has been incredibly, it's been hot. It was 96 today. But once you start to get around sunset, it's pretty comfortable, pretty nice. It's also very nice if you're on an e-bike because you get the breeze, but you don't have to work so hard for it. And yeah, I feel like it's time for some parting thoughts here, at least to kind of summarize the first impressions. And I feel like I kind of did that a little bit already, but mainly I think Aventon hits on everything they were trying to do. I think this bike is really well thought out. I'll have a follow-up video where we go through things in more detail, but I think everything about this bike just makes sense from a perspective of a commuting electric mountain bike that is, made to let you commute, but also really be capable in terms of shredding single track. And in order to keep the cost down and hit that kind of, niche, making this a hardtail makes perfect sense. Make it 130 travel makes perfect sense. Putting a RockShox 35, so you have 35 chassis, coil fork makes perfect sense. All of the selections as far as components, I have no problems with them at all. My main feedback as far as criticisms is the motor noise, and then this dropper lever. But again, these are very minor. Like it functions, everything functions perfectly. So great job, Aventon. I really feel like you hit what you're trying to do. I feel like it's pretty evident that you have mountain bikers in-house, because everything from the components spec to the actual geometry of the bike to the selection of a hardtail just makes sense from an overall perspective in terms of what this bike sets out to accomplish. And I think that's really cool, just to see everything come together from a product perspective to be like a cohesive product that makes sense together, jives together, and works. So, in summary, I have criticisms, but they're very small. I want to try to make this into more enduro-capable bike. And I think Aventon really just did a good job. Knocked it out of the park in terms of sub $3,000 commuting, single track worthy mountain bike. Very cool, very cool. All right, guys, catch you on the next one. We'll follow up with more videos with a full breakdown of this one. And cheers. Don't spend too much time watching me ride my bike down a path and talk about electric mountain bikes. Go ride your bike as well, and I'll catch you on the trails. Alright, this is just a bonus PS at the end. On turbo mode, this hill's nothing. This hill sucks, by the way. I don't know if you can tell on video, but this hill sucks. But I'm flying up it. Yes.